Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners. We're here for a public hearing. I'm going to read the caption before we get started. The Board of Commissioners of the City of Mount Juliet will consider the following on second and final reading on January 13th, 2025. There's three items here for this public hearing. The first is the annexation into the corporate boundaries of the City of Mount Juliet, approximately 19.64 acres, property known as Rosemont, located at 1826 Benders Ferry Road, map 49, parcel 15.07, and located within the city's urban growth boundary, and to rezone from RS40 to RS30 PUD and adopt the preliminary master development plan for Rosemont and adopt the plan of services. That's the first item. The second item is to amend the land use plan and annexation into the corporate boundaries of the City of Mount Juliet, approximately 47.39 acres, property known as Silver Springs, Phase 8, located at 9621 Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 45, and located within the city's urban growth boundary and rezoned from Wilson County A1 Agricultural 1 to RS20 PUD, and to adopt the preliminary master development plan for the Silver Springs Phase 8 and to adopt the plan of services. That's the second item. The third item is an ordinance to amend ordinance 2024-31 to the extent the sunset date to extend the sunset date until December 31st, 2024, which amends ordinance 2024-5, Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, known as the zoning regulations, amend Article 3, use regulations, added sections 3-108, temporary events, uses in portable buildings to include mobile food vendors, food trucks, regulations for residential and industrial districts to extend the sunset date to December 31st, 2024 until December 1st, 2025. These are the three items that we have on public notice tonight. We will open the floor for the public comments on these items. We will close the public hearing at 6:30 to start our regular meeting. If you would like to address the Board of Commissioners on any of these three items, I'd invite you to come forward to the podium, give your name and address. I'll recognize you for 3 minutes for the public hearing. Once we close the public hearing, we will start the regular hearing at 6:30. At that point, there will be another opportunity to address the Board of Commissioners at that point as well, if anyone has anything they'd like to add at that point. So I'll open the floor. If anybody'd like to address the Board of Commissioners, I'd invite you to come forward and do so at this moment. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
My name is Ryan Carr. I live at 320 Midtown Trail. I'm a resident of the Silver Springs subdivision. I know this has been going on for a while now. The builder is asking to build more homes into our subdivision. I hope that you guys will actually vote negative on this and turn it down. The main reasons I feel that it should be, I know there's been many concerns about the second drive coming in there. The number of homes that will be in that new section only has one entrance and exit out of there. I know for fire ordinance, that's, it's not allowed or should not be allowed, I believe, within the city of Mount Juliet. I don't know whether there's any address to that or not, but for me personally, this builder come to this board, not you guys personally, but this board back in 2003. So it's been we're going on 23 years now. This builder has only finished phases through 5. So 1 through 5 is all he has completed. And it's been 23 years since the initial PUD's been approved. I've lived there since 2009. So I've been there for, I think 16 years now. It was slow going at first with this builder, him being in there, and I understand that. But when I first moved in there, there's only supposed to be 4 phases.
Yes, sir.
So there's only 4 phases, which I would agree to that. We agreed there didn't need to be a pool. We're the land between, city between the lakes, right? We got lakes around here. We got Nashville Shores. We got Jimmy Floyd. Me and my wife, we had 2 kids. We were fine with not having a pool or anything, because when you get a pool, you start getting these amenities, your HOA fees start going up. When I first moved in there, 2009, HOA fees were $50 a quarter. We just got our bill. It's $220 a quarter now. It's quadrupled in price because the builder wanted a pool there, and it was the builder. We come here in 2013 when he had asked you guys to add the pool, add more phases. He asked you guys. There's a couple of us of residents. We actually opposed it, but you guys, the board, actually went ahead and approved it. So now our fees have gone up because he needed a selling point to sell more homes. in that neighborhood. And now he's coming to you again. He wants to sell more homes. The builder wants to make more money, sell more homes under our own subdivision so that he can just extend it out. That the problem is if he does this, 6 more phases, that could be another 10 to 15 years by the time he eventually gets out. Let's be honest with you. There could be another home, housing boom or housing bust goes on here. It will delay it more. Problem is with our HOA, the builder 100% controls our HOA. And he has for the past 16 years, and he will until every home in there is completely sold. So it could be, I'll basically have paid off a 30-year mortgage before me as a homeowner will ever have control in my own HOA. He controls the budget. He controls what he spends on it. He controls everything that happens within there. So that's one of my concerns is you as a board, as a representative of your constituents of the city of Mount Juliet and this district specifically that Silver Springs is in, we hope that you will actually represent us as the homeowners and not as a builder who is not even a city resident, that you will understand our own concerns and not just the builder wants to build more, it's fine, we'll let him continue on doing it, because these 96 homes are not a benefit to this growing city. I mean, 96 homes did not make a dent in all the homes that you guys are allowed to be built in here so far, but it does impact us. The 200 homes that are currently in Silver Springs, it will affect us, and it will affect our neighbors on the county side of Karen Drive. Right? You have a 100-acre home. You have an acre home that now you're going to have to butt up to a row of houses that just come in whenever they want.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Carr,
Thank
for
you.
your comments.
Appreciate your time.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the Board of Commissioners?
Yes, I would. My name is Veronica Bender. I live at 165 Jerry's Way, and that's in Lebanon, Tennessee. But I lived in Mount Juliet for 20 years. In fact, I was the principal of W.A. Wright Elementary and retired after 30 years. So I gave my service to Mount Juliet, and I love Mount Juliet. This land has been in our family since the 1940s. We're the third generation. We chose Universal Builders really because we saw the beautiful homes in Silver Springs, and I don't blame you guys for being proud of your homes. I understand traffic everywhere, but with growth comes traffic. We just have to deal with it sometimes. I am not a person of confusion. My family is not a person of confusion. So I hope that we can come to some resolution on this, and I respectfully ask that you approve it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to address the Board of Commissioners?
My name is Lonnie Bender. I live at 690 Poplar Drive, Mount Juliet, Tennessee. I was raised on what we refer as the Francis Farm, which is the annexation that we're talking about. I understand that people may have a problem with growth in Mount Juliet, but we picked Universal Builders. We could have gone outside, but we've lived in Mount Juliet all our life, and we'd like to see people in Mount Juliet flourish. So as opposed to going outside, finding some outside builder in New York or wherever, we decided to go with Universal Builders. And my father, who is 104 years old, lives just across the way from all of these homes. And we think, we've never had any problems. My dad has never had any problems. He feels safe where he is. And I just ask that you all approve this where we can move forward, because we're going to sell it to somebody. Okay. As one of the owners of the land, we're going to sell the land, and we would just love to see it stay with someone within the Mount Juliet area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Emily Gill. I live in Verona Hills Estates on Karen Drive, 145 Karen Drive. Y'all are talking about developing the land behind my lot, so I'll be living with blasting right on the other side of my property. And I don't have any problem with growth. What I do have a problem with is that we have a 2-lane highway Lebanon Road that runs in front of West Elementary. TDOT is years out from widening that road. It is already a traffic hazard twice a day. Twice a day, a 2-lane highway becomes a 4-lane highway. I've been driving on the shoulder to West Elementary. I'm in my 6th year. Why y'all approve any density for that section of Lebanon Road doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense for anybody that travels up and down Lebanon Road. And then you also have, besides some of these other concerns, y'all are clear cutting hundreds of acres in this town, displacing all of the wildlife, which is one of the things that we happen to enjoy in Verona Hills. It also will lower our property value. We have at least 1 acre. Most of us have 2 or more. And y'all are talking about increasing it to what, 3 or 4 houses an acre right in our backyards. I want y'all to think seriously about the quality of life of us as constituents. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Oh,
Good evening.
name and address, please.
My name is Lynn Baird. I live at 158 Karen Drive, Mount Juliet in Verona Hills. Got a couple of things, but first, if the opportunity to vote for low or medium density in Silver Springs phases 8 through 13 is still possible, I'd like to encourage you all to please vote for low density. Thank you. It's a simple way to help keep this area from being such a sardine can, along with the current nightmare of the traffic east and west on Highway 70. If you've not experienced it, you should not be voting. The execution of TDOT's expansion plans are still years away. If you possess TDOT's expansion plans for Highway 70, I'd like to see those plans, please. What's going on now are failures for Mount Juliet and TDOT to plan properly on what was the vision of growth and roads for this area, or for the 2050 or even 100-year outlook scheme of things. I don't like your plan. It's failed. I'd like to view Mount Juliet plans if you can make them available to me also, please. The residential building boom in this area should be at a slower pace so as to build adequate roads needed to carry the traffic load first. And will West Elementary School even be able to handle any more students that all these new developments in the area will bring? Secondly, established in the 70s, Verona Hills Estates has been and currently is a quiet, safe, and dead-end subdivision with approximately 85 homes that pay a small voluntary homeowners association fee once a year for our entrance maintenance and 2 lights. I'm the treasurer. There are no board members. So what will the future of Verona Hills Estates be once you open Karen Drive to through traffic from Silver Springs subdivision? It hasn't even been paved in 30 years. And just this past September, Karen Drive had to be closed for a day due to a cross drain collapse. More traffic is not a good idea. And once opened, we will no longer be an independent residential area. We have no desire to be part of Silver Springs and absolutely do not want to be a part of their homeowners association. So please tell me what our fate will be. Will we even have an entrance anymore once Highway 70 is widened? Again, I'd like to see plans of the forecast of this area. When will Verona Hills be annexed? Mount Juliet's plans are negatively affecting us, and we have no vote or county representation that even cares. I'm wondering if when TDOT widens Highway 70, if they could maybe make us a new maintenance-free entrance. And I'd close our account with Middle Tennessee Electric, and we'd go without neighborhood lights. With Verona Hills Estates currently being a dead end, residents willingly volunteer to pay our small homeowners association fees for the entrance maintenance. But once open, we may struggle to procure funds for our entrance maintenance, and it could lead to inconsistencies in property maintenance and appearance. And finally, I will assume you are aware that getting in and out of Karen Drive is very dangerous from the heavy traffic flow going both directions on Highway 70, plus West Elementary School traffic twice a day. My own son's car was hit by a car while trying to turn east onto Highway 70 while traffic was stopped for the school. When he safely pulled out to go east, another car driven by a bank president illegally passing in the school zone took off the front of his car. Thankfully, my son was okay. I'd like to suggest someone reach out to the Wilson County School Board and see if they can't relocate West Elementary School to a more accommodating area
Ma'am,
and get it off Highway 70 altogether, a critical main artery road. If you'll allow me to finish.
ma'am,
Just a little bit left.
I'll open the floor back up for citizen comments here in just a few minutes, but we need to close this meeting so we can start our regular meeting. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right. We will adjourn the public hearing. We'll reconvene here momentarily for the regular meeting at 6:30. Good evening. Welcome to the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners. Today is January 13th, 2025. I'll call the Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Having a quorum of all 5 members present, we are in compliance with City Code 62210 and will proceed with conducting the business of the City of Mount Juliet. So I'll start off by saying good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming to the meeting of the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners. My name is Mayor James Maness, and on behalf of the commission and staff, I want to welcome you here tonight. Tennessee law gives every Tennessean the right to attend the city commission meeting and observe how the government is doing the business. We appreciate that you've taken time out of your busy schedules to be here and see how the government works. So our first action tonight is to set the agenda. And without objection, hearing none, I will set the agenda as published. We have a 223-page packet to go through, 10 items on unfinished business and 14 items under new business. So if you would like to follow along, we have packets, agenda packets in the wire baskets next to the doors. If you are watching online, you're welcome to follow along online as well. So with that, we'll move to our next item on our agenda, which is our invocation and pledge of allegiance. And we have a young man here who has volunteered. This is from Weeblo Troop 153. Pack 153 from Mount Juliet Elementary. Luke has volunteered to lead us in the invocation. So, Luke, if you'll come forward, pull that mic down so we can hear you, and we'll let you lead us in the invocation.
Dear Lord, thank you for this night, and thank you for judging that's going on here in this community of Mount Juliet that we all love. And please help everybody that leaves tonight drive home safely. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen, Luke. That's a very good prayer and a very very good way of saying it. So appreciate that. We're also going to ask the troop if they would be so kind as to lead us in the invocation. So if somebody wants to come to the microphone, or if y'all just want to start it off as a group, we're going to stand with you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I want to thank y'all, and I hear there's no school tomorrow, so since y'all got the day off, you're welcome to stay with us here tonight, and
We'll take our leave.
we'll take your leave.
Oh, God
Thank
bless
you.
all. Thank you.
Yeah, that it is. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, and this is from December 9th, 2024 meeting. Is there a motion? A motion and a second. Any questions or comments, changes, corrections? All right, hearing none. All in favor of the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes carry. Next item is citizen comments. We'll say pursuant to City Code, Chapter 2, Article Section 2, 220 of that outlines that citizen comments you'll be granted 3 minutes. We'll ask you to give your name and address for the record. And before you proceed your comments, there'll be a timer running on the screen up there for the 3 minutes comments. Unlike the Planning Commission, is a little different. We take the citizen comments up front. So this is your opportunity. If you'd like to address the board, I'd invite you to come forward and do so at this moment.
Thank you.
Name and address, please.
Again, my name is Lynn Bear.
Thank you.
Okay. 158 Karen Drive, Mount Juliet. Okay, well, I'm going to continue where I left off with my final paragraph. I'd like to suggest someone reach out to the Wilson County School Board and see if they can relocate West Elementary School to a more accommodating area and get it off Highway 70 altogether. It's a critical main artery road. Silver Springs, Phase through 8 would be a great place to put it. You'd have 47 acres for the school, room for expansion, plus room for the traffic flow with an ingress egress on the Highway 70. More kids could walk to school than would need to take the bus. I'm for moving the school. At their current location, how much more capacity can they accommodate? The road now is a parking lot. And can Mount Juliet wastewater treatment facility even handle more capacity? It couldn't when Eastgate was built. That's why those tax dollars are in Lebanon right now and not here. TDOT's road expansion of Highway 70 will no doubt take part of the front of the school area, plus Verona Hills entrance because of the power station across the street. And apparently now Wilson County wants to put in $400 million homes between Beckwith and Bass Lane. I hope somebody is negotiating with the developers to help fund new schools and roads that are going to be needed now in the area. Profits should not come at misery's expense. The existence of an independent Verona Hills Estates is important to us, and we would like to continue to live in a very low density area in harmony with the new development. Again, please vote low density, and I look forward to your input on how my concerns can be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Order, please. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the Board of Commissioners? Yes, please come forward. You could just, if you want, just stand behind her and, yeah. Name and address for the record, please.
Name is Sally Robertson, 423 Willis Pass, Mount Juliet, Tennessee. And I'm not from Verona Hills, so different topic here. Anyway, my thing I wanted to like talk about was or is safe routes to libraries. Is the grant we can get. I brought it up to the Bike Pedestrian Advisory Committee, but anyway, I wanted to tell you guys about it just because, and I've got a couple. It's because the city a while back got a grant. The BPAC did Safe Routes to School to build the sidewalk in Woodbridge that was safe routes to schools. This is a safe routes to libraries because libraries are also destination points. We have a library, a good library. I love the library. I've talked to Tracy. I'm a librarian, retired now, but anyway, we had to cross. It's on Mount Juliet Road. It's a dangerous road to cross. So if you're going to cross Mount Juliet Road from say due west, that big neighborhood over there, due west area, it's pretty dangerous, especially with young kids. It's like crossing an interstate. Got 5 lanes of traffic. It's a bigger road than even 70. 70's bad enough. So it's basically an interstate we have through Mount Juliet. So my thing is just anyway, it's just, and I brought these little things. I kind of wanted to like show you guys. These are little booklet things.
Hey, excuse me, ma'am. Could we no one able to hear you if you deviate from the
Anyway,
microphone?
The little booklets, they're put out by Safe Routes to School. One's for scooter safety and one's for bike and one's for walking safety. So this summer, I'm running out of time, but this summer the theme of the summer reading is art. I think something like that would be great to do at the library. It's an art theme. Get the kids in the Mount Juliet to design. It's a story walk with a traffic safety theme to it. So in other words, you get kids to design books and write things about how to walk safely, how to bike safely, and how to scooter safely. So anyway, that's my main thing, I guess. I guess I'm running out of time here, but anyway, my other thing I was going to mention, I'm going to run out of time, is the intersection. I've talked to Bill Trevette. I don't know if he's going to address this, but the intersection of Old Lemon Dirt Road and Jackson Trail where I live, super dangerous. I know they're widening it, but how much longer is that going to take? And is there not a way to make that a 3-way stop, at least until the road's done? Because I've almost been hit, and it's super dangerous. Do you know? Can you address that now, Bill?
Yep.
Or later?
Yep. Thank you for your comments. Right. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Good evening, Michael Thomas, 704 Brook Cove.
And you've tried 3 times, so this is your
At least
chance.
5. I'm getting my steps in, thank you. So I'm not going to take the 3 minutes. I ask you not to vote in positive favor for the annex. I'm right next door to the blasting, or have been for the phase that's going in now. Concern is opening up that back road, the additional traffic coming through there. The roads, in my opinion, are too narrow anyway to even park cars, and you have kids that inadvertently run out in the street. I love the idea of the elementary being put in that area. If you can think of that. Main concern is how are we building so much property without the infrastructure and the timing? That is key. I moved down here. My wife's from this area. I came from Kansas City. We have our problems there, but Lebanon Road, how long is that going to take? And internally in the subdivision, it's tight right now, and we're going to get all that flow. People are going to, come up Lebanon Road and turn before they get to the high school or the elementary and come around just to probably get out of traffic for the school zones. And we're going to have the influx of all the neighbors behind me. And I like that neighborhood. I walk in that neighborhood, but I agree with the lady. We don't need to share those roads. And the one entrance, and that technically was a second entrance, will probably make it legal for the phases. But where do we stop? With universal builders, 30 years, like Ryan, the gentleman said, for his mortgage, I had house paid off before the HOA is in effect, trying to get anything done. without an HOA committee is impossible. And I could talk all night personally on those issues, and I will not. But I ask you to please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please. Name and address, please.
Kenneth Blankenship, 303 Midtown Trail in Silver Springs as well. I also urge you to vote against the annexation. I would also urge the commission to consider legislation that guarantees members of a community in an HOA representation on their HOA. That community has been in place at least a decade, and there is not a single vote from the community, only the builder's vote. We don't have control over how those funds are allocated for the neighborhood. And we often have services that are probably lackluster, and we would like to be able to investigate other vendors for those services for the neighborhood. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Sorry. Name and address, please.
Ryan Carr, 320 Midtown Trail. Appreciate taking time again. Just a couple other points I want to bring up. I know I've sent emails to several of you guys and listed a bunch of different points and everything, but a couple other things I just want to mention here in front of everyone as well is regarding the pool. So obviously the phases that are already approved through 7 phases, it's going to have, I don't know, like 220 some, 230 some homes or something like that, if I recall. So the pool already was, when it was, asked to be put in by the builder back in 2013. Obviously, he was only expecting to have through 7 phases, right? So the pool was only built for roughly 200 homes. So now if we're going to add another 96 homes, the pool is going to be very small for all these homes, right? I mean, if you go there on a summer day now, I mean, with all the kids and the families, you're not going to find any seating, and it's not lack of seating, it's the lack of area around there. The pool's already getting kind of full. So you add more homes, that's going to create more problems with the pool area. That's just, it's not going to hold it. The other point is, I know obviously there's a national ordinance or something, I believe, I remember talking to the planning commission about, regarding in these plans that they're going to put a mail kiosk in front of the pool area for this new subdivision, or for the new section, because I guess there's a mandate says that if a new subdivision or new phases are put in, that they cannot put mailboxes in front of those homes. So it has to be a mail kiosk. Where they're putting that mail kiosk is in front of our pool area. So now you're going to have 96 more people driving in this pool area around our playground just to get their mail. It's going to be an eyesore for the people that live right there across from the pool to have these cars coming in and out of there all the time, this big mail kiosk. It's not a benefit to us, the residents of Silver Springs, to have these 96 homes in there. It doesn't need to be. I understand the builder, he's in the business of making money. I don't fault him for trying to make money in there, but it can be another subdivision. It can be another neighborhood. It doesn't have to be a part of a neighborhood just because he's already in there. He doesn't necessarily have to continue. He can go and build one. He's got several other in the Mount Juliet area that I know he's at. He can find land. He can build it. It does not have to be a part of Silver Springs. We can actually hopefully finish our own, and he can start and do another one somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carr.
My name is Susan Parker. I live at 119 Karen Drive, and I'm a complete nerd. I love Mount Juliet. My husband and I picked Mount Juliet, and 25 years ago, we kept trying to find a home, and he took me to Karen Drive. He said, "This is my dream place to live." I was like, "We can't afford to live here. Oh, look, let's buy that house." Ms. Bender, we are in love with the property. I know you're hearing a lot of pushback, and yes, we're going to push because we love that property. There are trees on that property that are as old as the Hermitage. There are birds back there. I told you I'm a nerd. There are birds back there that are not common to any place. They nest back there. They're very shy, and they're part of the birds that are just jewels. Indigo buntings, pileated woodpeckers, the woodpeckers that are this tall. Summer tanagers. There's a very rich fossil bed back there that is just exquisite. I haven't played back there, but I can see across the fence, okay? what we were talking about is quality of life. That's what I spend all day talking to my patients about. I'm really concerned about the quality of life going down because of the traffic on Mount Juliet Road. The children at West Elementary, there's already 4 portables there. I would love to see the school moved. I would love to see a park back there and part of the places that where you can't build, where there's a dry creek. So we would love to see if there is building going on for it to be low density so that lots and lots of other people can build. And builders, please look after those trees. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Stephen Heckendorf, 393 Page Drive. So actually, I first want to start off by saying, gosh, the roadways were amazing during the snowstorm. I know that lots of folks have to have hats off for that because I think it was the best I've ever seen the roads. They were prepared. They went out and treated the roads, even the residential streets, which you wouldn't think they would get up into. So hats off to all the folks in the planning. I do have a history. I come from California, and actually my in-laws lost their house in the fire. And one of the things is preparation, I think, is key. And I think that's one thing, even though it's just a simple little thing of doing the roadways to make sure people are safe on the roads, it's a big thing. Everybody doesn't have to rush to the grocery store then to get milk before the storm because, hey, the roads are going to be a lot clearer. So I appreciate that. So hats off on that. One thing I did want to bring up, I know you're going to talk to probably all the concerns that folks have on those issues, especially as it relates to the county versus annexing. There's lots of specifics, and we always appreciate when you go through what can happen in the county unless they come into the city. So that's always educational. So appreciate that. Hopefully you'll go into it. The one thing I want to talk about is about the interchange. I do agree that we need to have stipulations on the money. It's a lot of money. I am a little concerned about if the state takes all 25 million at the outset. So I mean, hopefully, again, these are just questions. I know it's kind of been delayed a little bit, but I do like stipulations. I think that's a great setup because it's a lot of money, and we want to be really careful with it. We don't want to have a project sitting there with a bunch of land bought and nothing going on for years. So I just want to obviously raise that concern. But again, appreciate it, and yeah, have a good one.
Thank you, sir. I apologize for the loss there with your family. I know a lot of people are impacted with that. Is anyone else here would like to address the board? One more.
Mike Weston, 141 Karen Drive.
Thank you, sir.
Got 2 things. I guess I agree with, like for you to vote no on the Silver Springs Phase 5, but I'm here before we get too far along on the Chrisman property that's on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
Got the notice in the mail, in the newspaper that trying to do some annexation and rezoning. And then I understood that it got referred to December the 19th, which I don't think anybody even knew about. And just wanted to bring up that this was brought up in 2020. And to make a long story short, it was referred to the county. And the county voted unanimously because of safety and traffic concerns to not let this happen. So here we are in 2025 and trying it again. What's changed? Traffic's heavier. The safety issue is even more extreme. And we sure don't need anything connected to Karen Drive down there at that intersection of Lebanon Road and Karen Drive. If we want to make it residential and build some houses in there, fine. But going commercial right there and trying to connect it to Karen Drive is, I don't know what's changed. I hope y'all's safety thoughts are well what the county was 5 years ago, because it's worse now. So got several things affecting Karen Drive, and I wanted to bring that one up before we got off into some other stuff. But thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, order, please. Is there anyone else to address the Board of Commissioners?
My name's Clyde Hicks. I'm at 143 Karen Drive. Love Mount Juliet. We've been living there since 1999 and have enjoyed a very peaceful, calm, quiet neighborhood for all of this time. To think that we would be opening it up now for through traffic, that's a hard thing to accept. I know there'd be construction vehicles and all other kinds of vehicles going through there. I'd like to echo what a lot of the other people have said. We have concerns about blasting. We have concerns about the elimination of wildlife. If you've ever walked on the Bender property, it's a beautiful piece of land. Our land backs right up to it. Emily's does, the Hoopers does. For years, we, with the Bender's permission, were able to keep horses back there. And my wife still walks back there every opportunity that she gets. That's her place to go and decompress. The wildlife that's back there, it's just an amazing spot. And the blackberries in the summer, come on. All of that will be gone, but the wildlife too. The density of the homes that you're going to have, the types of homes. I like the idea of the school relocating there, and that would probably make a nice profit too, Ms. Bender, to you know, if you are going to sell. And I know that's inevitable, but you know, please, as a commission, do something that's proactive as far as the planning and not reactive afterwards, because it seems like everything we see, you build, and then there's things you have to come back and redo and clean up. And if it weren't such a serious thing, it'd be laughable. And I think just to have the foresight to know that right now we're just choking in growth, and the infrastructure cannot handle too much more. And Lebanon Road in front of West Elementary School is a ridiculous traffic environment. It's ridiculous. Every morning I go around it on Terrence Hill to get right. If you're trying to turn east, you can't do it. It's near impossible. And even in any other time of the afternoon, it's a hard thing to do. So I appreciate your time and your patience. If there is a compromise, go low density, but I would just rather see some other use of the land. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Is there anyone else to address the Board of Commissioners? Okay, seeing none, we will close the citizen comments portion of the meeting and we'll move to commission reports and comments. I'll recognize Commissioner Giles for his report.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to send thank you for Public Works for going out. While I've been gone the last 4 years, my understanding, the board approved some new plows for the department, and they were out. And of course, I wasn't out, but I've checked on it. I was in. I wonder, you know, I talked to one of our friends. I always look forward to a snow because I like to make snow cream. And a lot of people probably has never made it, never eaten it. It's great. And some people say, oh, that's the first snow, you can't eat it. Well, didn't poison me. I'm still here tonight. So that was good. I also want to thank PD. I checked. There were only about 4 wrecks during that inclement weather, which was just unbelievable. And 2 of those were on the interstate. So kudos to them too. Thank you for all that y'all do as well. So Public Works cleaned the roads, and we didn't have, I guess, as many wrecks. So that was very, very good. I want to also send out a shout out to a couple who is very instrumental in our BPAC in Mount Juliet, and not because they're in my district, but just because of what they do. And it's Mike and Brenda Earl. They work tirelessly every year to coordinate the Walk to School program. And a lot of your kids and grandchildren has probably participated in that event. It always starts in the spring. And not every school participates, but many of them do. And this last year, we had, unfortunately, a lot of rain. And so we didn't have rain out dates for that. But this year we do. So I got to participate in one at W.A. Wright last year. My wife got to participate in it and looked at Miss Bender, and it was great. And so I just want to put out a shout out because they work so hard at that. And I appreciate them, and I appreciate what they do in the BPAC. So with that, Mayor, that ends my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll recognize our Vice Mayor Trevette.
Thank you, Mayor. And thanks for everybody coming out tonight and also online. Happy New Year. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on tonight. Obviously, our Public Works. I'd love to. I'm actually going to take some screenshots because I'll tell you the preparedness, as the other gentleman back there was saying, the preparedness, the communication between our police department, the zones that you and your team were addressing. It was flawless. So thank you to all the staff that stuck around. I know there was a lot of communication back and forth between me and Matt, and just obviously making sure that all of the streets are hit, and the communication. There was some communication from our communities that were actually stating that their roads have never been plowed in the whole time that they lived in the city, and they actually was able to get up and down a driveway. So it was pretty impressive to see that. So thank you guys. Great job. The bad part is now you set a standard. So good luck on the next snowstorm. Obviously, when it comes to, with all the holidays and all the responses that our police and our fire did throughout the holidays and the New Year's, I'm telling you, we've seen so many blue lights and red lights these last couple weeks. And just great job. I'm telling you, we live in the best city in this country. So thank you guys for everything everyone does each and every night. We don't miss it. Or excuse me, we don't take it for granted either. So there's a couple of things that I want to highlight. Obviously, I appreciate everybody coming out tonight and being very passionate about your development. And it's kind of interesting to see because, luckily we've got the homeowners that are local that are trying to do something with their land. They've been paying taxes on this. They've sat on it, trying to figure out what is the best project. And obviously I agree with a lot of you. When it comes down to it, I would rather have a local vendor or a local developer developing here. And in my opinion, I would love to have somebody that has taken that long to develop, because then when I live in that community, it's one of those things that, hey, I know this house ain't going to be built in this area for the next 10 years, but I do understand some concerns with the HOA. I actually was on the board for 9.5 years. I was an HOA president for 8.5. So I feel your pain. So hopefully we can, figure out some opportunity there. But when it comes down to it, obviously, I was just looking at the map for the city, for what we have in the city, what we have in the county. And one of the residents tonight, very smart young man, he shows up to a lot of our meetings. And yes, he is from California, which you probably never hear me say that again. But either way, but he made a good point, which is if we continue to let the county dictate on some of these projects, we as a city, we miss out on opportunities to look at road improvements. We look at the sidewalks, these other projects. So, sometimes we got to take the good with the bad, because again, it's just like your front yard. If you want to put something in your front yard, or if you want to do something with your own property, who are we to say that you can and cannot do something? As long as it's law abiding and you're following code rule regulations, then you have that right as a property owner. Same thing with these folks right here that are trying to sell their land. They can't figure out what else they can do with it. So they're trying to find a local vendor, local developer that has the passion, just like what many of you have. And before you came here, each one of you, just like some of you said, you moved here 10 years ago, 15 years ago. There was people sitting in these seats probably just asking the same thing. They don't want the development. Okay. I've been here since 2013. My job brought me here from the north. Okay. Luckily, my house was already built, but I can tell you right now, my community, Hickory Hills, Many people did not want that development. Same thing for Willoughby Station. Many people didn't want that development. And I'm just asking you, yes, I agree. We need to slow down. We need to, road improvements. And this commission every day is looking at better opportunities to look at alternative, transportation, looking at, other opportunities to improve the roads, looking for other, ways to find money and to still keep our taxes at a reasonable amount. I was just talking to our city manager. Other communities are at 80 and 90 cents. We're at 11 cent taxes. Think about that. All these amenities that we have as a city, and our taxes are this low. So again, obviously, during COVID, there was a lot of changes for us. People are now getting back to work. We need to start looking at, what we can do to start having this road improvement opportunity. And our public works, our planning, every department in this city is always talking about that. We are always forward thinking. We are trying to be proactive, not reactive. So I can tell you right now, this is not a 20-hour job. This is about a 45 to 50-hour week job that every one of this commission up here is dedicating their time. This is a volunteer position, in my opinion. If you look at it right now, I'm probably getting paid about 50 cents an hour, as much time as I put into this. And that's just, I'm speaking for myself because I'm on my phone 365. Okay. Not exaggerating. It's public record. You guys can request my telephone records at any time. So I'm very transparent. At any time, I don't care if you're in my district or not, 2024, please reach out to me. We're all family, we're all community. So I'd love to hear what's going on. Last thing is, for the contractors that are in this room and that are listening online. Listen, as a commissioner, I personally don't care to be driving past these projects, okay, and seeing development, okay? But when I do see it, I want to see safety. For the folks that do know me, I am about safety. I am sick and tired, and I said that really, and I mean that. I'm tired of babysitting your jobs, okay? Today was another prime example of safety. Luckily, our staff was able to jump right on it, and they were able to take care of it. TOSHA will be involved. OSHA will be involved. We're going to do whatever we can to be a thorn in your side if you do not take safety as a priority on your projects. These residents that live around you, they have kids. They have people that are walking around enjoying their community. Get it together, clean up your mess. And I'm trying to be firm and respectful as possible in this chair, but I'm tired of seeing it. And I know our residents are too. So 2025, my goal is to make sure that our staff is being proactive and making sure that they can hold every one of you accountable. And I'm referring to the contractors. So Mayor, that concludes my report, and thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. We'll recognize Commissioner Hefner for his report.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I appreciate everybody coming out this evening and those watching online. I see some familiar faces out there in the audience. So really do appreciate you coming out and getting up and speaking during citizen comments. I do take that seriously. And I'm going to fall right in line with everybody else up here. Public Works just did a fantastic job, over the, do we call it Blizzargeddon or whatever it was called, but the big snowstorm. So kudos to them. And proof in the investment proof is in the pudding, right? We invested in additional snow plows, and we were able to get to roads that we weren't able to get to in years past, talking about neighborhoods. So it's a good decision by the board when we increased that equipment. Also, speaking of growth, just to kind of put things in perspective. From 2020 to 20, we just did our recent census. Thank you. Mount Juliet realized a little over 3.3% growth rate. That's roughly 1,200 people over a 4-year period of time. That's actually not bad if you think about it. If you look at it compared to Lebanon, which experienced over a 15% increase in population, pretty significant. So I think we've done a really good job up here, and we're going to continue to do that. Obviously, traffic is a number one issue and concern for me. That is of top of mind when these projects come in. But those roads have to be paid for somehow. I can say the last time I checked, we have close to 5,600 single residential household units that have been approved that have not been built yet. So keep that in mind. 5,600 that have not been built. That includes high density townhomes and single family homes. So there's already a lot in the pipeline. I'd like to see some of these projects coming forward. Why this developer took 23 years to build 200 homes, I don't know. I guess that's his prerogative at the end of the day. I'm a little concerned that he is still controlling the HOA. I'm going to bring that up a little bit later. And as far as Silver Springs, I'm really curious to see what kind of progress we've been being made on Highway 70, and if there's any light at the end of the tunnel with regards to Commissioner Giles. I know you've been having some meetings, some conversations with TDOT to see where the light is at the end of the tunnel in terms of when we're going to start hearing or even seeing some improvements. And with the road improvements, and I'll end at this. When you start seeing the yellow cones out on the street, that's the tip of the iceberg. What you don't see is the months, the years we have to, and the hard work that goes into getting those cones out on the street. There's financing it. There's right-of-way acquisitions, the things you don't see. That could be years before you start seeing these cones. So just because you're not seeing cones on the street doesn't mean we're not doing anything. We're actually doing quite a bit of work in the background. You're just not seeing it. Again, when you're seeing those cones out, that's most of the work's already been done. So with that, I end my comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll recognize Commissioner Mullally for her comments. Report.
Thank you. Well, you saw me on a walker 2 weeks ago today. I had knee replacement. So they said the first 2 weeks were the worst, and that's not a lie. So anyway, last week I graduated from wrist therapy after 6 weeks. So I got to take the armrest off my walker. So that's an accomplishment. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight and expressing their views, whether this turns out the way you want it or not. I do appreciate you taking the time to come out here. If you live in Verona Hills, I don't blame you at all. I wouldn't want it either. I really wouldn't. I've been in Mount Juliet community for 40 years. So I've seen change. Wilson County was a dry county. That changed in the year 2000, I believe it was. Voters voted to have liquor by the drink. You can't have liquor by the drink without growth. It brings in the growth. So between that and sewer, that's basically, we're seeing the results really of that ultimately. I would really hate to see where Mount Juliet would end up really today had that not passed. Personally, I voted against it. But just thinking, where would Mount Juliet be today if that had not passed? That's hard to imagine because people want their old town, their small town. But, when you vote for things that you want, not realizing what it takes to get those things, you give up things too. So I just basically wanted to say that there was like single family, there was growth, and then the market kind of changed to multifamily apartment townhomes. And what I'm seeing in Mount Juliet, it's kind of seems to be kind of trending back toward the single family. So when townhome projects come up, people come out and say, why can't we build single home family lots? So here we are. I mean, would you rather to see single family residential or multifamily? I mean, property owners, of course, if any of you own some acres, 50 acres, 100 acres, 500 acres, whatever it is, If you want to do something with your property, you have that right as a property owner. And nobody would blame you for selling to a developer to get top dollar. Nobody would blame you. It's the property owner's right to do it. It's not likely that other people are going to have the money to buy the land to match what the developer pays for the property. And so, as a property owner, what do? You can't blame people for wanting to get the most out of the property. It's sad for the wildlife. It is. But if I had money, I would buy the property just to sit on it for wildlife. I don't have that kind of money. I'm sure you don't either. So, we are in a growing town, and it's to be expected. And one thing I like about Mount Juliet is our quality of our subdivision regulations that we have here. I'm proud of that compared to what the county allows. I don't think you want the county building on that property, because you talk about it reducing your property values. I think it definitely would. Compared to what would be built in the city, I don't believe that it would drop your property values. I don't know where I am as far as time. I had some things to say when the property comes up. I know about traffic. I live behind Providence. I drive in it every day. I get it. I hate it. But it is what it is. We're waiting on TDOT on the other end of town too. So I had some other things to say, but I can wait until the property.
If it gets on the table, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I did want to say one thing about the schools. It's not likely the school system is going to move that school. It's just not likely to happen. But the school's responsibility, in case you don't know, is to, when a school, any of the Wilson County schools, when each school gets to 85% capacity, it's the school's responsibility to go out and start looking for land to prepare for the growth. That's the way it works. Here in the city, I don't know about the county, but in the city, development pays for new schools, thousands of dollars per single family home, per apartment, per townhome, thousands of dollars. So development pays for new growth on the new schools. What the county does with the money is another thing, but we do development here in the city, helps fund the schools. So anyway, I just wanted to make that known. I had some other things, but I'll wait. Okay, I'm done.
All right. Thank you for your report. I'll start out by wishing the vice mayor and our District 3 commissioners who recently had a birthday. Happy birthday. I believe, ironically, they're both celebrating their 28th birthdays, and amazing how that works. Oh, well, thank you. I'm also recently celebrated my 28th birthday for about the 20th time, but I appreciate that. We did indeed. Well, there is a gentleman back there I just noticed who made the city's reel from California on our snow removal. It's amazing how fast that can be said and get on Facebook within no time at all. So very nice. I did see a post out there, and it kind of hurt my feelings just backing up a little bit before the storm. There was a lady that said if the city of Mount Juliet had any snow plows, what they do with it. And I thought, it didn't hurt my feeling for the fact that we had snow plows. A lot of people don't know we actually have snow plows. I was more kind of offended from the guys who work sometimes 12 hours and 18 hours and then sleep on cots during the public works building to treat those streets and be out there. And it doesn't always look like everything that can be done is being done, but I promise you they do put a lot of effort into it. And I'll say from the last storm, we've even gone back and changed the way that we interact with the state, being more proactive on state roads, not our roads, but we decided to take a proactive approach to those as well. And anything that we can do to treat those and get out there before the ice sets in and builds up, I think it's just better for everybody. And you know, quite frankly, we have to travel those state roads to get to our city roads to treat those too. So we've got some things in place, and I know it's been mentioned at the Board of Commissioners to approve the funding for a couple of more plows, and that definitely helps. But you know, in the end of the day, we can buy all the plows, but it takes some dedicated men to get out there and run those and work all the hours that it takes to make that happen. And we see the results sometimes, and they turn out really well. And we got fortunate too. The weather presented us a nice test run on these new plows. So I do appreciate their work and everything that everybody does to make that happen. I'll just also mention Happy New Year, and I'll also say Happy Judging, and then I'll recognize our city manager for his comments at this point.
Thanks everybody for coming out tonight. I'll probably get a little deeper tonight than I normally would, but the reason for it is just certain things you see in life. The group of scouts that were here earlier with their parents, I hate they had to leave. I appreciate the commission and the people showing them such respect. Having moms and dads involved in their children's lives like that is what we need a whole lot more of in our society. I love seeing that. It takes a lot of commitment. Everybody works really hard. For somebody to serve this city for 35 years, I take great pride in that. Very, very proud of that. And I see a lot of people in here that were here before I got here. And I want to express that tonight because a lot of things that I see in society, I think people, and again, if this comes across as kumbaya or too mushy for you, I apologize in advance. But my New Year's resolution this year, and I sent a note to the commission last Friday, is I think people are too crude to one another. I think people are rude to one another. I think people are disrespectful to one another. And you never know what somebody's dealing with behind the scenes. And I talked to an employee today that's dealing with a stepdad issue. And he's going to make a trip because this gentleman's got basically a bucket list item. This man's dying, basically. And it's a stepdad for a guy that didn't have to be a stepdad to somebody. It's one of our employees. It's a dear friend of mine that works here. And I deal with that every day, to where people deal with cancers, heart attacks. I just lost my mom not too long ago. And I think human beings have a lot of work that they need to work on in the way that they treat other people. And I said, so my goal in 2025 is I'm going to do a whole lot more of that. So if you know me, you know how much I did in the past, you're going to see a whole lot more of that in the future. And hopefully it changes you in some way, because I get that from other people that I get it from. So I want people to know that. Make no apologies basically for saying it, because I think it needs to be said. A lot of good people. Talking about the gentleman earlier, is 104 years old. Here long before I ever thought about getting here. And I'm going to do a lot better job of that. So if I say hi to you or I wave at you when you're going down the road and you think I'm some weirdo, I'm a weirdo that's going to wave at you. I'm going to do everything I can to lift other people up going forward, because I've got people in my life, they're close to not being here any longer. And everything I've learned from when I was a kid of things that people said, and so, well, you'll understand a little bit more when you get older. Well, I'm older now and I understand it. And I think if everybody did that out of the 340 million people in this country, and you made it an effort to maybe just think for just a minute before, not you guys, but just us in general, say stuff to people, maybe sometimes just a kind word, you'd be amazed at how far it'd go in making a difference in that person's life, because you never know what they're dealing with personally or what they're dealing with in their family's lives. So I want to give a plea for that. Nobody may not ever see this. It may be archived and somebody will see it one day, but if it touches one person, then it made a difference. So I wanted to say that. Secondly, is if you're drinking and driving, stop, because it's not fair to you guys that are out there, because we can't protect you from stuff like that. And there was 2 precious children, I think, in Greenbrier or Ridgetop or Springfield or something this weekend, because the father made a mistake and got out in his car when he was drinking and driving. And those 2 children lost their lives. And that happens to people every day, because there's only 2 yellow painted lines, about 12 inches, that separates you from something like that. And that's the stuff we ought to be talking about in life, the real stuff that impacts people's life in a different way. And we have that here. We had a wreck that was on Blenda Parkway. Mr. Millay was in your district. And it's funny because the pots that were put out there, they're really just big oversized culverts that were converted to beautification plants, because we didn't have a lot of money to buy the real fancy ones, but these work a lot better. And had they not been there, there's no doubt in my mind somebody would have been seriously injured or killed, because this cart crossed them twice, drunk driving. And I take that pretty personal when people that we serve as a public servant, and I'm just a mere public servant. I take that really personal when people do that, because these are the people that I was blessed with 35 years ago when we came here and we had one public works truck and about 6 police officers. Mr. Weston, you'll remember that. And I just felt like I need to share that with you. Be thinking about that when you're dealing with other people, that decisions you make and the impact they have on them, and you may not even realize it, good, bad, or indifferent. That's important to me. It's been on my heart for a long time to share that. And I usually try to be real philosophical and loving and kumbaya. We had somebody used to call me kumbaya. That's going to be a whole lot more going forward, because I haven't done a very good job of that in the past. So I actually need to enhance those skills. So if you thought it was bad before, you just hang in there. Public Works, my folks are here, Mr. Matt White and your team. Even in spite of this, gentleman just had a brand new baby, been going with that 24 hours a day. He takes my call every time I call it. And his team takes my call, and we call him all the time about different things. And you're right. Thank you to this commission for stepping up and buying those plows, because I remember when we didn't have one. We do all the state roads, Highway 70 and Mount Juliet Road. We do all that. And the reason is the state stays so busy doing the interstates that they can't get to the secondary roads. We do the same with mowing. We mow all the right-of-ways in this city. No other city does that. We have one of the only EMS teams out of 10 in the entire state. We're one of only 6 cities that's AAA bond rated. I sent the commission last Thursday or Friday a note and showed all the accomplishments we've made in recent years. You made a very good point, Commissioner Hefner. You said something about a lot of times you can't tell from by the time you see the cones, the amount of work that it took to raise $25 million to hand a check to the state of Tennessee and say, we want to be partners with you on that interchange. We're only 28 square miles, and it's amazing the people that traverse through Mount Juliet. That's what's amazing about it. They come to our parks and come to other things and benefit from the things that we all help build together. But it's also those visitors that come to our city and leave their sales tax monies behind. I'm very thankful for that, because I know the little town that the people that came from where we helped create, and I'm going to be a bigger part going forward of making it even better. So please don't drink and drive. Public Works, absolutely awesome job as always. Police and fire, thanks for keeping our citizens safe, because without those citizens, what is Mount Juliet? Just a spot on a map. That's all it is. The people is what makes the city, and we need never forget that. God bless you all. Mayor, that completes my report.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. And with that, we'll move into the unfinished business portion. If there's no objections, I will read 9A, B, C, and D together. Hearing none, I'll read the 4 items. 9A, a resolution to adopt the plan of services for the property known as the Rosemont property located at 1826 Benders Ferry Road, map 49, parcel 15.07 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. 9B, which is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 19.64 acres, property known as Rosemont, located at 1826 Benders Ferry Road, map 49, parcel 15.07, and located within the city's urban growth boundary. And 9C is a resolution and memorandum of ordinance to be codified, reflected to the annexation of the property known as Rosemont, located at 1826 Benders Ferry Road, map 49, parcel 15.7 and 15.07, and 9D, an ordinance to rezone approximately 19.64 acres of property at 1826 Benders Ferry Road, map 49, parcel 15.07 from RS40 to RS30 PUD, and to adopt the preliminary master development plan for Rosemont. Have a motion? Second. Any questions or comments on these 4 before we vote? Commissioner Giles, you have the floor, sir.
I want to thank you for stepping up and contributing that $7,500 per house per lot for the widening of Lebanon Road. When I was going over this in the packet this time, I did find something else that we do need to address tonight. There's not that much of linear feet on Bender's Ferry, but I noticed where you were using the same regulation as the subdivision regulations for that sidewalk. In actuality, that sidewalk should be 10 feet wide to match Traymore up there. So would y'all be amenable to changing that and making that 10 foot? Okay.
We get your name and address for the record, please.
Tulsi Patel, 210 Lakecrest Drive. Yes, so you're just talking along Bender's Ferry.
Yes.
Making that sidewalk to 10 feet. That should be fine, yes.
Okay.
All right. Do you want to make the formal motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to change that from 5 to 10-foot sidewalks.
Okay,
on
so
Bender's Ferry.
we're amending 9D, which is the PUD ordinance under, I guess it'll be under Public Works. I believe that's item number 25. And that is to change, well, we need to amend the section. We need to, I guess, just amend it to say that the portion on Bender's Ferry be 10 feet wide.
Yeah.
And you're okay with that, Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All right, all in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we're back on to the 4 items and 9D as once amended. Any other questions or comments? All right. All in favor of the 4 items, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The 4 items carry.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is 10A. Is there any objections to hearing 10A, B, C, D, and E together? Hearing none, I'll read the 5. 10A, which is a resolution to adopt the plan of services for the property known as Silver Springs, Phase 8 through 13, property located at 9621 Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 45 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. 10B, which is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet, approximately 47.39 acres, property known as Silver Springs, Phase 8, located at 9621 Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 45, and located within the city's urban growth boundary. 10C is a resolution and memorandum of the ordinance related to the annexation of the property known as Silver Springs, located at 9621 Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 45. 10D, an ordinance to amend the land use plan for the property known as Silver Springs, Phase 8, located at 9621 Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 45, from low-density residential to medium-density residential. And 10E, an ordinance to rezone approximately 47.39 acres of property at 9621 Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 45, from Wilson County A1 to RS20 PUD, and to adopt the preliminary master development plan for Silver Springs Phase 8. Is there a motion on these 5 items? Have a motion? Is there a second? All right, we have a motion and a second on the 5 items. The items are on the floor. I understand there's been some conversation with the applicant. If there's any representation for that would like to maybe clear up some of the concerns, I want to just go ahead and ask them if they would to come through, because I think there was a list of things that I've been communicated to me that have hopefully addressed some of the stuff.
Mayor, thank you for the chance to make these comments. My name is Tom White, 500 11th Avenue North, Nashville, Tennessee. I represent the developer for this proposed development and also in part the Bender family. Here's my comments. We listened very carefully to the comments that were made at this commission last time, and we're willing to make the following commitments. Number one, there was an issue raised in part by Commissioner Mullally about a contribution of $7,500 a lot. We've discussed that. We're willing to commit that we'd be willing to do that and make that part of the approval process. There was also a comment made about a construction interest and how that would be done. Mike Rye, the engineer, is next to me. He'll be able to explain that. We think we've addressed that. With respect to 2 ways in and out, we think we've got maps. We can explain that. We now have clearly got less than 100 lots, which I think would be the threshold for requiring 2 in and outs in the first place. The other thing that I'll mention is that you don't find many families as decent and committed to the community as the Benders have been. Not just the public service, the teaching of the schools, et cetera. But they were very diligent, I can tell you from my client's perspective, in trying to make sure they came up with local builder developer. May have taken longer to do it, but they were trying to do the right thing. And they could not have been much more accommodating to the people in the neighborhood. We heard comments about letting the people on their property. They've never had an issue with anybody. My client's been out there for 23 years. To my knowledge, there's never been an issue with the city about any improprieties. They've done it right. It may have taken longer than what some people expected, but it's a local builder developer, which ought to mean something. At the Planning Commission, when this matter was heard, a number of the people commented about the quality of construction, and that's just something that should be considered. Nobody builds a perfect house, custom built or whatever. Nobody builds a perfect house. I want to talk about the HOA for a minute. When this matter came up, the city attorney clarified the HOAs are not a matter of the province of this body. They're really private matters. But I do want to say this. I've represented most builders and developers in Middle Tennessee over the last 50 years. I don't know any one of them that doesn't maintain control of the HOA until the very end. And that's really a laudatory thing because it allows them to control the budget. It allows them to control the quality of the construction that takes place out there. Nobody's got a bigger investment in that development than the builder developer. And so there may be some concern, but we've all seen instances, unfortunately, where there have been some bad actions by HOAs and other people with respect to budgets and other things. I'm not making a disparaging comment about HOA. I was the president of my HOA for many years. It's a thankless job. I want to thank this group for what they do up here. It's also a thankless job. But the HOA is a very difficult thing to control, and generally you find 2 or 3 people that are willing to step up, and everybody else doesn't want to do anything but complain. And so I think having the builder developer in charge is generally a very, very positive thing. And again, I just think that's not a matter that's the province of this city body. But if there's a comment to be made, I really want to stress that from every builder developer that I know, every one of them tries to maintain control, whether they call it stacked votings or whatever else, they do that. And it generally has a very positive effect. With respect to what my client's done for the 23 years, he's not done one thing unlawfully. Everything he's done out there has been approved by the city. That's important. That's not true for all of my clients, I may say, but in this particular case, I can say it. And so I make the comment that with respect to the issues that came up last time, we listened to them. We spent a lot of time with the Bender family that's been so congenial and cooperative in trying to make sure that it was a local person, that they continued the relationship. I think they've been exemplary in their conduct. They've been on that property basically for 60 years, maybe longer than that if it's been since the 40s. So I ask that to be considered, ask it to be approved. And if you would, Mayor, I'd like Mike Rye, the engineer, to address the issues that I mentioned about the construction access, where that is, the 2 entranceways in and out. But with respect to the 7,500, that's just a commitment. Nobody had mentioned that to us before the last meeting. And I haven't spoken to Commissioner Mullally about it, but she made the comment. We addressed it. We're willing to do that. I appreciate your courtesies and would respectfully ask for your approval. Mike, if you'll address those issues.
Yes, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Mike Ryan, 1274 Poplar Hill Road, Watertown. Excuse me. I'm just getting over something. Per your comments last meeting, Mayor, we did coordinate with Todd. I appreciate him being so available to talk to us and coordinate with us. And we sent you earlier via email a proposed route for a construction entrance to Highway 70, utilizing the existing driveway. So developers are willing to commit to that, make that an option to keep some of the construction traffic out of the existing neighborhood. With regard to the access points, I think the most succinct way I can address that is that we have prepared. There are 2 access points for the entire subdivision as presented with this phase. However, the concern seems to be with the new lots. We believe the concern was about it being more than 100 lots. The developer is willing to reduce to less than 100 lots there. We've prepared a drawing, if you wish to see it, showing how we would reduce the total number of lots in this new phase to stay below that. If there are any additional questions, I'll be happy to try to answer.
You're talking about reducing the number of lots. Do you have a proposed drawing for this, or you just want to
It would be
give the lot numbers?
It would be 92 in phase 8 versus 96, if that is a concern. That can be accomplished.
I'm asking which lot numbers because if you have that drawing, I think that would be beneficial.
With your permission, I'll hand them to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Officer, please. Please pass those down to Sheila. So you're talking about the total, to reduce the total that would bring us in compliance for our subdivision regs for 103-205 Part D with the 100 units behind that, the 100 units total in the cul-de-sac
That's
on this. Okay. And I talked to the fire department about an alternative to that, which was an emergency entrance, but they were pleased with emergency. This is going to bring us in compliance either way. So.
Well, we changed the lot numbers. So if you, what you're looking at has been renumbered, but basically it's the southern cul-de-sac. We just shortened the southern cul-de-sac.
Okay. I see what's happened. That southern cul-de-sac there is shorter.
Mayor, we'll answer any questions. Thanks for the opportunity and thanks for the commitment.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and also turn on the microphones here for staff. I think it's probably the easiest way to do this when we go through a PUD like this so that anyone can answer any questions that may be presented on that. I will ask Ms. Johnson if she could address some history on this thing. I think one thing that's caused some confusion is the need to ask for this to be medium density versus the low density, whereas one phase or the first 7 are RS15 versus now we have a smaller density in the new space, which is RS20 by zoning. Can you offer us any insight and explain the history on this? Because I think it's caused a lot of confusion in the sense that if you just read it from going from low density to medium density on this, it makes it appear as if we're putting smaller lots sometimes in this newer phase and more in there compared to what's existing.
Yes, sir. Just to let you know, this original phase for phases 1 through 7 was passed in 2003.
Mhm.
At that time, they came in with a high density zoning of RS15. The current project is proposing RS20 with the PUD overlay. It's actually an improvement as far as density for the overall subdivision in itself. You were going for an original lot count. They have increased the density to 2.02 units per acre. They could go up to a maximum density under this RS20 zoning to 2.2. So they're actually going a little bit lower density even with upping to the RS20.
Because those calculations will change with the reduced lots too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we will have to recalculate that density as well, because what we've calculated on with our original staff report was from the higher amount of lots, which were 96 originally. The land use that they are requesting, it currently is sitting at low density residential. They had requested for the RS15 after we looked at the lot count, did some calculations with staff. It did go to the RS20 was more amenable. Some of the noted differences, the decrease in density, the increase in the overall lot count, and the retention of the original setbacks was something too that we were also looking at that was beneficial to this subdivision. The original lots also too were much smaller. They averaged approximately 7,700 square feet at the time. They are now an average of 11,000 square feet. So almost doubled in size, which is very good as far as density. They've also got improved open space at 7% of the overall PUD. So that if you've got any further questions on, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah. Could you just briefly at a high level explain the difference between RS15 and RS20?
Yes, sir.
Because those terms are confusing sometimes.
Yeah. RS15 is high density as far as your overall lot count. Give me just 1 second. I'll look at the original numbers on that.
Typically, that would be 15,000 square foot
Yes,
lot.
sir. And the RS20 is a 20,000 square foot lot, which gets you into a medium density,
That's
less
typical
units per lot.
with a minus the PUD.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, with the new calculations, we can get, it's going to lower your density even more so because, as I said, right now, the density proposed is 2.02 units per acre. The 15 would be even lower at that. You're probably looking at about 4 units per acre on that if you went with the higher density.
Okay. And does the reduction of the lots change anything for the needed zoning or land use? Would that?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of.
Vice Mayor, I think you had asking for the floor.
Yep, this goes back to the developer, and obviously, hopefully the residents can hear that. Obviously, there is, some great opportunity that everybody's looking at, and just like the other commissioner talked about, this could turn into something that we don't want to see. But to go back to the developer, I was just kind of curious because I know that this was discussed in the planning. Lot 62, 61. Obviously, you're looking at roughly, let's just say. I'd say about 95% of all the vehicles that are coming in and out are going to be, all their headlights are going to hit those particular houses every day, every night. Is there any opportunity there to maybe consider maybe moving the mailbox over in that area so it's more centralized for that community of the section of the phase? And obviously looking at doing that and maybe giving some more green space just a little bit. I know you lose 2 lots, but you also then you fix the problem of not having that kiosk over at the common space. And then you also eliminate the headache of those residents potentially having headlights every night, 24/7, 365.
It is certainly possible. We do show locations for proposed kiosks in this phase, but we're at preliminary stage.
Yeah.
There will be a good deal of design to do. And yeah, we just talked about eliminating 4 lots, so we can slide them around and make that a little better situation for those lots.
And then the other concern obviously was, obviously the pool, the first phase of this community didn't want the pools. Their HOA, the HOA dues went up pretty high. I know we're at the beginning of the stage of this project here, but just want to take some things into consideration. Obviously, obviously that was just one individual that was talking about it, but as he also stated, those pools are now maxed out, and adding in those amenities to these other 95, like 92 homes, that's a concern there. And I did talk to some of the folks in planning, and that was a concern as well when it was actually presented. So, like, what are the thoughts there when it comes to, have you guys done a study based off of what the amenities are currently being used? What's the percentage, as well as what's the projected percentage that's going to be there? Or
No, and we
are we at
typically
max
would-
occupancy, that type of thing?
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
No, we normally wouldn't at PMDP. By the time we get to FMDP, we would spend a bit more time in actually trying to nail down the amenities. I can only speculate at this point. But the answer is no, we haven't as of today.
Okay. And then the last question, just because it was brought to me just for right now, obviously, is there any space over at the current common area to add another pool to help accommodate these 95 and to be able to help offset those costs? Again, I'm just asking just because it was a question from a homeowner that was asking about the
Well, so
the additional load on the pools. Sorry.
the current, I don't know. Our company did not design the first phases of Silver Springs. We're relatively new. I would have to study that. The odds are highly unlikely there's room for another pool. However, if you look at the drawing for phase 8, behind lots, there's a large area, open space area. There will be room for an amenity of sorts in that area. Again, we're not at the point, I don't think, where we've studied enough to know exactly what the developer or the community would prefer, but we have some room within this phase to provide some additional amenity.
Okay. Well, I mean, again, because I've seen on the plans here, it shows pond location. So, and it's kind of boxed out, but then also down there in a really fine area, open space. I see what you're saying now. So you're saying there's going to be like a detention pond there, and then also some common space.
It would not be anywhere near that large.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's quite a bit of area there that could be amenity, and any stormwater needs will can be accomplished there as well.
Okay.
The other thing, Commissioner, I have to mention is that obviously if something is done of amenity in that area, it's right next to where the new houses are, which
Correct.
is something we've considered. Candidly, I don't think there's enough room for a pool, but there's plenty of room for amenity features there, which would be far more contiguous to the people in this new Phase 8 as opposed to the other. I think that's an excellent idea. We're certainly going to explore that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Giles.
Yeah, I just want to comment on a few things. You know, a lot of people brought from this board tonight the issue that, you know, it could be something else basically. I think it was Commissioner Mullally was talking about higher density as far as apartments are concerned. And while this board sits here, we can vote on this tonight to be single family homes that will hopefully only increase the value of your current subdivision. But it also ensures that there will not be higher density back there. So there would not be apartments back there on that piece of property. And the vendors have the right to sell it to anyone if they wanted to put apartments. And while we set up here right now, a lot of us may not be here in a few years, and there may be a majority on this board that would say, yes, let's do several apartments back there, et cetera. So because of the growth, I feel like you have to look at it that way as well. A couple of things for you, Mr. White. When you were speaking of the HOA, when I first got reelected again, and I realized that this was it, that we were going to have to deal with this, I went to the attorney's office. She can attest to this, to talk about this HOA stuff. And I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think what people should do when they move into a subdivision is to look at those HOA and see if there's any provisions in there that they cannot increase it, that it's finite, that it would be at a certain build out. When you're in a PUD, they come in and make and want to add other phases to it. And I might be wrong about that, but there's surely got to be a way. It was not going to help you all. It's not going to help Silver Springs this time, but it's something that I want to research and see if they can, even though we can't dictate that up here. I think homeowners, when they buy into a subdivision, need to read those HOAs to see. And there may be a way to do that. I don't know. And again, that's nothing that we can do up here. Am I correct?
The answer is what you stated is correct. It's generally done in the CCRs, the restrictive covenants. That's where it's generally done. And again, it's basically the situation. All of us have bought homes before. I don't know if anybody has read through every single document, so I'm not faulting anybody that hasn't. But basically, the place you'll find that is in the restrictive covenants. And it could be put in there. It could be enforceable. Obviously, this ship has sailed.
That's correct.
But yes, that could be done.
But I did try on that, because I was very concerned about that as well. The other thing that I want to address is the $7,500, and I'm sure this is going to be in this, but that $7,500 will be obtained from the builder at the time of the grading permit. Is that correct?
That decision is made by this board. I've seen it done at grading permit. I've seen it done at the CO. Frankly, whatever we're dictated to do, we will. But I've seen that done at different phases. I honestly don't know if there's a state policy by the commission, but we'll pay that whenever we're told to.
Okay, yeah, it was discussed. So that's the quickest we could get it, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
That's correct.
That's the way Rosemont did it. Okay.
Do you want to make that amendment now and then designate what the funds to be used for?
Yes, and I want to talk about that. So I'll make that amendment. For those who do not know, that $7,500 goes into a fund that has been set up now in the city of Mount Juliet for the widening of Lebanon Road. Okay. We are not on the 10-year plan yet for Lebanon Road to have that widened, but hopefully we've got the first. Of course, I had nothing to do with that. This is all, and this is just it. We've got to do something. And so the meeting that I had a few weeks ago with TDOT, we've got $3 million to bring to the table that has been appropriated for that stretch out there. And, money talks. And so we need more money to be able to come to TDOT and say, we've got X amount. So with the first subdivision that happened 2 weeks ago, that we talked about a while ago, they gave the $7,500. Now this subdivision, at least we can go to TDOT and say, we're being very proactive. We've not only we don't have all the money yet, but we've got a fund. And every time they pull a grading permit, that $7,500 goes into there. So if you take 92 homes times $7,500, I haven't done the math, but you could do it real quick. Someone, you see that's quite a bit of money. And that helps in the fund, and it helps on the others that will contribute. So that's what it is. A 4. So I will make a motion that it would be obtained at the grading permit for the homes.
The erosion control.
Erosion
permit.
control, excuse me. Okay.
So you're making an amendment to collect the $7,500 voluntary contribution per lot collected at the erosion control
Erosion
permit,
control.
and the funds to be allocated for the widening of Lebanon Road.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on that. Any discussion on the amendment? All in,
Let me say, it's
Yes, sir.
690,000. Thank you. So.
any other questions or comments on the amendment? On the amendment, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Commissioner Giles is spot on with that. I want to commend you for that, because what he is speaking to basically is the same thing as how we obtained what we did. This commission was able to go to the governor of the state of Tennessee and basically partner. This enables us to do things like that, to become a partner. Instead of going with hand in hand, we go as a partner. And the commission did a great job in that. And that's how that interchange project was able to get on the state's list and funded, not just on the 10-year plan. But thank you. I just wanted to piggyback on that and say that's exactly right.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions or comments on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment to accept the $7,500 voluntary contribution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So, all right, we're back on the ordinance as once amended. I'll say the other item that was addressed was the construction entrance. I'll make a motion that to state as agreed upon by staff, all construction traffic for phases 8 through 13 shall utilize a separate construction entrance whenever physically possible. No construction activities for phase 8 through 13 shall commence until the designated construction entrance has been completed and fully operational.
Second.
A motion second. Questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Mayor, is this something we can ask the contractor to put signs up at the main entrance of the community? Is that something?
It's like no construction traffic. Well, you could, but they're still on phases 6 and 7 at the moment. So
Okay.
I guess it'd be a question of timing on that. Any other questions or comments? All right. All in favor of the second amendment, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Back on the ordinance as twice amended. Commissioner Mullally?
Okay, thank you, Mr. White, for that. And in case you don't know, these are voluntary contributions that they're not required. We can't require them. They're voluntary. So thank you for that. So as far as the HOA, I've never lived in one personally. And I know that's a private matter. The city can't enforce those. I brought this up at first reading. Nothing really happened with it because there's homes already been built. But since the developer still controls the HOA, I think it might be worth adding something to that as far as the 10% rental cap, since this is one PUD now.
Let me respond this way, if I might. I
Okay.
think the city attorney will tell you that capacities on rental are really things that should not be addressed at this board. They're generally addressed in the CCRs. You've got a very capable city attorney. She can address that. But I don't think that's something that can be dictated by this board. And I think I've heard that comment made both by the current city attorney and past city attorney, but they're here and I'd like them to address that issue.
Any comments?
I would agree with exactly what Mr. White said. That's accurate, that we can't dictate rentals.
No, I know the city can't enforce, but could we add that into the stipulations of the HOA, that there would be enforced by the developer
Well, there are always private agreements, so the city's not involved, so it gets a little sticky. We've looked at that before in a lot of different developments where you try to restrict not more than 10% rental, things like that. And the problem is a lot of FHA and HUD requirements don't allow that. And I'm not sure what kind of funding there'll be in this development, but there's oftentimes a problem with those funding agencies where they don't like those requirements. Don't ask me why. I can tell you from my client's perspective, they'd be perfectly happy if there was no more than 10% rental. I'd say of the quality that's there in Silver Springs right now, there's virtually very few rentals. But I will say this, everybody that knows anything about developments knows there's rental in every development in Nashville. I don't care if it's the most upper end or lower end, there's always rental there. But I can make this commitment to you that my client is committed not to have rental in this, whether it's the first 7 sections or the new ones. It's just not legally enforceable at this level. But there's no interest by my client in doing that because it basically takes down the value of his property. And that's why it's been, in my opinion, so successful thus far. People that have bought in there have seen a huge increase in their values because they're built right and there is no rental there of any significance. So all I can tell you is that we're on the exact same page with you. We'll look at addressing that in the CCRs, which is private, but it could not and should not be done legally at this level is my answer.
Okay. You brought up the pool, possibly a second pool, but wouldn't that increase the HOA fees?
No, because the clients contemplated in the section as mentioned by Mike Rye, that in that very large area, which is contiguous to the new development, that there will be a detention pond in there. If done and done correctly, there's plenty of other room over there for other activities. And that's clearly committed to by the client. They haven't parsed that out yet, but we'd be foolish not to put amenities in it. We candidly can't fit a pool in there. I want to be very straight up about that. We can't do that. But there's any number of other things that can be done that the residents of this new Section 8 can walk to, as opposed to coming back into the development where the current pool is.
One of the residents stated the problem with the kiosk, the mail kiosk being beside the pool with too much traffic there. Is it possible to put a second kiosk in this new section over here?
That's governed by the federales, to be candid. But we're perfectly willing, as Commissioner Trivett said, we're perfectly willing to look at a way to explore moving it from where it is. That's no issue at all. But to be perfectly candid, kiosks and a lot of the locations are clearly done by the federal government.
Okay. Wasn't the connection to Karen Drive approved on the first phases?
2003.
Yes, so that connection's already there. So this development wouldn't have anything to do with that. It would be good if this had a back connection to the front part of Karen, but that's not possible. When I had asked about let's see if I have anything else for y'all. Oh, the sidewalk. The sidewalk issue about Mill Creek, I think it was lot, 85?
We understand that the staff was not supportive of the sidewalk variance. We're not going to push that tonight.
Okay. Let's see. All right. Well, that's all the questions I had for y'all. I've got some for Public Works.
Thank you. We'll answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you.
All
The
right.
traffic study. I had asked if there had been a traffic study done as far as Karen Drive and Lebanon Road. And Todd, would you like to address that?
Yeah. Back when they were still pursuing the variance on the allowable number of units, there's a caveat in that section of the code that clause can be waived by the Planning Commission with a traffic study. So the development team did prepare one. They approximated about 10% of the new trips would take Karen Drive. To be honest, that seems reasonable because it's rather out of the way if you actually live in these new phases. Admittedly, they did not account for cut-through traffic within the traffic study. However, they did estimate LOS levels over the acceptable limits along Lebanon Road at Karen Drive. That shouldn't be a surprise. We've all tried to take a left onto Lebanon Road and had a hard time doing it. This entrance isn't going to fix that. The issue at hand here, though, is that intersection is entirely within the county. No section of that intersection is a city road. With them not having direct access because this development is going entirely onto the city portion of Karen Drive that's currently under construction in phase, I believe it's 6 of this development. The county doesn't really get a say in what's required. If they had access directly onto a county road, or at least this is how it works with when TDOT gets involved, you really need access onto one of their roads. And I wouldn't feel comfortable conditioning infrastructure on a county road that would not be our maintenance responsibility. So there's not a lot we can do at that intersection anyway, unfortunately.
All right. The rest of the questions I have would be for planning. And then one general question. I'll go ahead and ask the general question. On these ordinances, since it only says phase 8, they only say phase 8, and this is actually phase 8 to 13. Shouldn't the ordinance state 8 to 13?
Is it a question about?
It's a question.
About the header or
Yeah.
a specific requirement for a variance or such?
No, the header.
Do you want to take that? I mean, it's technically they've got a phasing map in here showing phases 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, the way it's broken up. Question for the client. Are you locked in place on those phases? Because is that something at the final master development plan, the phasing numbers may shift? Or
Yes, sir, they could.
okay. And for us, from a legal standpoint, should we just say phase 8 or greater, or are we fine just saying phase 8? Or
I don't have the plans in front of me right now. Is that what this is?
that's the thing taking up the floor. It's the last page is the phasing plan.
This is actually right there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So while it reads phase 8, it's broken up into a series of, I don't know, 15 houses per phase, not just ballparking it. There's phase 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13.
If the plan currently shows 8 through 13, I would just number it as 8 through 13 right now.
All right. Is there any objection to changing, any objection from the members from changing those headers from just saying 8 to 8 through 13?
Can I add one more thing? The only question I would have is throughout this ordinance, it just refers to phase 8, like on the 4th, whereas we just have phase 8.
Jill, what's been generally done on these?
I believe when the original application came in, it just showed phase 8. It did not show phase 8 through 13, but we can, under the direction of Ms. Sam, go ahead and update it to phase 8 through 13. And once it comes through final master development plan, if there are any alterations to the phasing, then we can deal with it at that time.
Let's do that.
All right. Any objections to changing phase 8 to phase 8 through 13 were needed?
On the rezone and the land use?
Yeah, we're needed on those
Okay,
5
wherever
items.
it's heard. Okay.
Okay, hearing no objections, we'll leave that in capable hands of staff. Commissioner Hefner.
Question as it relates to that phasing, just to be clear on the $7,500, is it phase 8 or is it when we do the silk fencing, is it covering all phases or is it just the residential in phase
Covers
eight.
all of the
Well, yeah.
lots.
All
All
of
of the lots.
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, there was no objection to changing that. So.
No, I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure it was all lots and not just silt erosion control on phase 8. Okay.
Every lot.
Okay.
No 9 through 13 discount.
There you go. No. That was it.
I just some stuff I've scribbled down through here tonight. I heard some concerns about the connection on this. It's actually not part of phases 8 through 13. I think you pointed out that was part of the 2003 requirement that there's a connection through there. There were some questions about the schools. We invite the school system in every one of the review plans. I think it's technical review is the correct term, technical review plans, to come in and offer any comments on those. In this case, there weren't any submitted on this plan. I've heard about blasting. Blasting is something the city cannot regulate. That's in the hands of the state. And I also heard some concerns about the speed at which the project is going. And I kind of look at that as kind of a double-edged sword. You can go fast or you can go slow, but you know, it's one thing you want to get it done and get all the construction in. And I get that. I've got construction going on the north side of my home and the south side of my home. And further to the east, I got construction going. So I get the desire to have that done. But I will say, from an infrastructure impact and from a school system impact, when that slows down on that does allow that gradual adjustment for those things to be built. And one thing, the feedback that I've gotten from a lot of the people that have lived in neighborhoods that Universal Builders has built has been the complimentary that it has been more of the custom built homes. It's been built slower. It's been built to spec. For me, I see that almost as an advantage, as to having somebody pull in from out of state and just slow down and just coming out of state and just throw something together as quickly as possible. So I do appreciate that approach on it. And I get that goes both ways on it. Back on the blasting, I'm confident that in saying this, that the landowners do not intend to leave that as a hayfield forever. And I think the exact words is, well, we're paying taxes on that right now. And I do understand that. So when you sit up here in my seat, you can vote a project down, but what I can never say is the project that land won't develop. So sometimes it's a question of, is having a plan that what we got before us, which is less density than what's beside it, is that the best use, or is there something better going to come along? What's going to be next? The land gets developed, so I have to weigh what comes in front of me on this. So it's not a question of there's not going to be any development or they will be development on it. It's just, is this something you can live with? And the way that lays out, I also feel fairly certain to make this statement. If there's any development on there in the future that's done, we're going to be looking for connectivity to the existing neighborhood, just because of the access and the way this lays. So when that land develops, either way, the connectivity is going to go back there. It's a landlocked parcel. I've asked the applicant to look, I've asked staff to look if there's any other alternatives to it. Whether we approve this tonight or the next thing happens, the connectivity to that land comes one way or the other. And it's whether the density is there or higher density is asked for, I don't know. I don't know what the future holds on that. But just some notes I wrote down. I just wanted to speak to some of those things. Is there anyone else who would like the floor? Yes, sir.
Just based on what we've talked about tonight, I've got some cleanups on some of the public work comments, if that's all right.
Certainly. What do you have?
On number 9, as the applicant is no longer pursuing that sidewalk variance, I would like to edit that to state that the sidewalk on the south side of Mill Cove Road shall connect from the new phases to Karen Drive. Uh,
Can you repeat that from Mill Cove Road to Karen Drive? It shall connect?
Correct.
Okay.
As they are now compliant with our dual access code, we can strike comment 11.
11, okay.
Similarly, with the sidewalk amendment not being pursued, we can strike comment 18. And I would like to add a CO to comment number 19, which is the sidewalk along the Bender's Ferry frontage. And I'll leave which CO or what trigger to the board.
But you would like to see a CO trigger?
I would like to see a CO trigger.
Okay. Well, I'll start off with the two I think are kind of straightforward. I'll make a motion to strike item number 11 under Public Works and under 9 to state that the Mill Cove will connect to Karen Drive. Is that, got that? All right. Got a second on that? Any questions or comments on those? All right, all in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're back on it. The ordinance here as 3 times amended. Any recommendations on a CO trigger for number 19, which is the 6-foot frontage sidewalk along Bender's Ferry Road with grass strip? Commissioner Giles, I'll give you the floor.
Okay, so obviously we're going for the 10-foot path because at Traymore, excuse me, and Rosemont, they are putting in. So we're talking about on Bender's Ferry, right down on the south end of it. Is that what we're talking about? Would y'all be amenable to doing that, to change that so that it's consistent up Bender's Ferry?
We would make that commitment. We haven't looked at it in the field, but we'd make that commitment.
Okay. Okay. Make amendment to change that from, I don't know what, if it was from 5 or 6. Yeah, which is normal unless we're doing the 10-foot, to go from 6 to 10.
10. And did you have a recommendation for the CO trigger on that? Let's look at the phasing map.
Yeah.
Might be easier.
Matt, which one? What's the number that we've been doing? Again, I've not been here in 4 years, so 35. Okay, thank you. I forgot. It's been 4 years.
35th CO.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, with the motion by Commissioner Giles, as the PUD amendment staff recommends we'll just say a 10-foot, we'll strike staff recommends. We'll say a 10-foot frontage sidewalk along Bender's Ferry Road with grass strip to be completed by the 35th CO. Is that good?
Yes.
Got a second on it? Questions or comments on the? Looking at staff. Okay. All in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we're back to the ordinance as 4 times amended. Any questions, comments, concerns? Commissioner Mullally?
Okay, the only thing I have left is for planning, I guess, and it's a missing puzzle piece. So if you can help me find it, if it's in here, point it out because I don't see it. All right, so if you follow along, you'll see where I'm going. On page 79, on the ordinance of the land use amendment, section 1, where it talks about the exhibit A and exhibit B. This section has to only do with the land use amendment. Exhibit A, which is on page 78, is the land use, and then, but it references exhibit B, which is a PUD amendment. So exhibit B doesn't have anything to do with a land use. And not only that, I don't know about your copy, but on my copy on page 89, Exhibit B, you can't read the text. So it's like there's no text there. So, I thought that was strange that if that section is talking about land use and Exhibit A is land use, Exhibit B is not land use.
Commissioner, may I ask, on this, it just shows the dots across there.
Yeah, that's what I have.
I think this is probably a font missing on the computer that rendered the PDF.
I believe you're correct. I was trying to look at the maps that were made for. I think the only exhibit that's going to apply directly to the land use is A. That's strictly just stating that it is going from low density to medium density. Just one moment. I'm looking through all my papers here as well. Yeah, I think we just need to strike Exhibit B from that.
Yeah, and after medium density residential period.
Yes, ma'am.
Strike the rest.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion to have that stricken.
Strike Exhibit B.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
I'll
Page
second.
79, the land use ordinance.
I'll second that. Any questions or comments on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Okay,
And the
so,
ordinance is once amended.
all right, so continuing that thought, page 82. All right, this is the planning commission meeting on October 17th. Which had nothing to do with the land use amendment. This meeting only pertained to annexation, rezone, and PUD amendment. All right, so if you look under the analysis part, it states on the third line from the bottom, the city's land use plan identifies the area as low density, therefore a land use amendment for the RS20 zoning will be required. Okay, keeping that in mind, if you notice the next section in the color, it says requested classification, medium density, approved. It says approved. The section under that where it talks about future land use plan, the city's future land use map, it identifies this medium density residential via a recent amendment. Okay, where is that amendment that it talks about? That's one of the missing puzzle pieces that I have. So going on that, I don't have anything to back that up in our agenda. Now, if you look over page 84, still under the planning meeting, if you look under summary, it says the city's land use plan has already been amended from low density to medium density to accommodate the RS20 base zoning request for the additional phase. So again, this meeting in the Planning Commission only had to do with the annexation, the PUD amendment, and the rezone. So if this land use has already been approved, where's the backup? And if that's the case, why is there a land use amendment on the agenda? So that's the missing puzzle piece for me. Where is that backup where it talks about where that land use amendment has already been approved?
The land use plan amendment at planning commission?
They actually denied it, gave a negative recommendation in July 18th.
Okay,
24.
so do you know where that came from?
That's what I'm trying. I will have to look into it to see exactly if that might have been the reason the negative recommendation was given at planning commission, because it might not have been a necessary amendment. But that was in July. I'd have to go back and look through some of the minutes to find out if there was a land use change made for that area. And if there was, then there would be no need for a land use amendment if it does currently show as medium density residential.
Because what I was wondering was if the ordinance on the agenda tonight had more to do with us changing the definition of medium density from that we did.
This
Thankfully, for somebody who was smart enough to bring a computer, it does show the current land use as medium density. Mr. Serpent has verified that there is medium density residential, so therefore we would not need to do the land use at this time. I think we could possibly, I'd have to check with Ms. Burnett if we could withdraw that, because it's showing, I just don't know where that change was made in the process between July and currently.
Because that was my question, because several of the residents were saying, don't vote for the medium density. Well, from what I'm reading here, that's already been done.
Yes, ma'am. That's the way it appears, and it is showing currently on our GIS as medium density. So at some point in time between July and currently, that medium density classification is made.
Wasn't there confusion with the original RS 15 that they would need high density? And that's what got the land use, the whole discussion with the land use change started?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But they had the land use, and what you're saying is they had the land use initially for what the PUD is asking for currently.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay.
My apologies for the confusion on that.
Okay, so going forward, what do we need to do with the land use amendment that's on the agenda?
It would appear we could ignore that.
Yes.
Well, but there's more wells. And I'll let,
I have the GIS map right now and it shows low density for what I'm looking at. This is the property, isn't it?
I don't have a computer.
Yeah, the blue one. Yeah, not on our map right now.
I'm not about to get mine.
Low density.
The future land use layer and the land use in the parcel itself do not align. The future land use layer says medium density. When you click on the parcel and go to planning, it says low density.
there you go. Yes, ma'am.
My preference would be to leave it on the agenda and vote on it tonight. Sam?
So that we could potentially be what we think we are?
Yes. So we can all align.
Well, this sounds really interesting.
Yes,
Um,
Are we making a land use change?
No. Supposedly it's already been done.
Potentially.
Potentially.
There appears to be some discrepancies on the GIS layers versus what's current. I would also state I would go with the Director Hamblin and her recommendation to leave the land use amendment on and just go ahead and vote, because if anything, we would just be duplicating. If you as a board decide to move it to the medium density, and it is a duplication of a prior amendment, then we could go back and look at that ordinance. And if there's any necessary legal changes, we can get with Ms. Burnett to see, unless she advises otherwise. Yes, sir.
Vice Mayor.
So just since all this is now coming to a head, did we at least make the notification post to the citizens as well as, did we post everything out, put the signs out? Did we make the notification newspaper? So we're at least in compliance there, correct?
Yes, sir. It would have been done at Planning Commission again before second reading of Board of Commissioners. So it would have been done twice.
It had been done twice.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Just wanted to make sure we at least cross those Ts. Okay. Thank you.
So we're legally able to vote on this either way. I know Ms. Hamlin went to get a laptop, and I'm hoping this is to.
Commissioner.
unravel the
Well, I got lots of questions.
root of this. Meantime, we'll recognize Commissioner Hefner.
So trying to sort through this. You said in October, the planning commission failed the land use amendment
July.
in July.
Yes, sir.
So would this not have to go back? Who sponsored the land use amendment? Doesn't it have to be sponsored to come back to, doesn't it have to be sponsored by BOC member?
Was it not sponsored on first reading by Commissioner Justice?
I believe so, but let me look through my notes. I want to make sure that I give y'all the.
And then wouldn't that, if it passes tonight, would it not have to go back to the planning commission?
Yes, sir. We would revert it back to the planning commission. You are correct.
Is that for just for the FMDP or just for the fact that, I'm sorry, you're both correct. I follow you. Because they're going to bring that in alignment with the changes.
That way it aligns with the FMDP when it does come across.
Ms. Hamblin,
So I clicked the layer and I'm showing what they're showing is medium density residential. And from my recollection, the RS-15 original request was going to have to ask for the land use amendment because that is high density now, which is why they came in with the RS-20. So the land use plan would not need to be changed. That's my recollection. I've slipped like 3 times since July.
well, that's what I recall, that it was originally a change and then it appeared, and that was some of my questions today, was it appeared that there were some pieces of it did not need to happen after the zoning and the break. But I know there's some changes in what was low density years ago.
Right.
Those definitions have changed as well.
And quite frankly, where we have not had meetings, some leftover items may got pulled up, whereas they did originally submit for that land use plan, but then withdrew it based on the different base zoning request of RS-20.
Well,
Right.
But our land use map official on the website shows it's medium density residential.
So the official answer is it's already medium, but we have an amendment to amend it to medium.
That's what I was saying is where we have not had meetings, I believe it's just a leftover that never got withdrawn on our system. Does that make sense? Do you understand? Like in Legistar, it could have gotten carried over where it's never been withdrawn officially in our Legistar system.
Yeah,
And Legistar is the software that we use to create our agendas.
and it goes from planning to board of commissioners.
I just have concerns about the parcel details showing that it's low density. I
Where
know
do you
that
see that?
when you click on the actual parcel and you go to the planning tab, where it lists zoning and land use, it says that it's low density residential.
And that comes from the tax assessor at Wilson County.
Okay. So the overlay is.
The overlay
we
is
do the
what we put in there. That's correct. I never trust the tabs. That comes from the property assessor at the county, and they're not affiliated with us. So just for history's sake, we share our information throughout the county. We all pile into the same GeoJob. It's cheaper for the cities to all pile in together. So that information comes from the property assessor. So its use is low density right now, which is what they're getting taxed on, maybe agriculture. And that's where that came from.
Okay, I need to know this. If we vote on a land use amendment as it's written tonight, along with the annexations, the PUD, and anything else, if we're voting to make it medium density, it's already medium density, have we done any harm?
No.
If it's low density and we vote to make it medium density, we're getting to where allegedly we already are, correct?
Correct.
Right. So I'm looking for a recommendation on our action. Do we proceed forward with plans tonight, or what do we need to do?
If we're confident that it is medium density, then we don't need to vote on it. But if there is any possibility that it's not, then we should, to make sure that it is actually officially changed and voted on by this board.
Is there any harm in voting for it?
No.
This makes up when we
That's why I think.
Commissioner Giles, I'll give you the floor for your, you can say that, so you had your mic off.
I
That's-
think for this confusion, we need to vote on it to make sure. If it's not going to hurt anything, let's vote on it like it never was before. And then it's done.
Mayor, I'd like to,
Mr.
for
White.
the applicant, address it and say there's absolutely no downside to approving it. There was confusion as the matter came along. My client and the applicant did everything we were requested to do. But at the end of the day, there can be no legal downside to approving this. I don't think there's maybe a downside if you don't, but there's absolutely no reason why it shouldn't be voted on in the same form that it is right now. You're asking for an issue if you don't, in my respectful opinion.
I think when it went from the high density, that it just got amended to medium density, and that's how we wound up with it. But I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, staff's on the same page, the applicants, everybody out here watching is on the same page as to what's happening. Commissioner Hefner.
This is a pretty big point. I've been kind of quiet up here because I wasn't going to vote in favor of it because of the land use amendment. Land use amendment, I was under the impression was low density and it needs to stay low density. So if it's not low density and it's actually medium density, I need to know that. I need some reassurances that's the case. Because I'm not gonna vote in favor of an amendment to medium density from low.
Okay, let me get your mic on there, Ms. Hamlin.
I can confirm it is medium density residential, already approved that way from whenever the last time the land use plan was totally approved.
You've referenced the actual ordinance.
Do you have the,
I'm on our GIS system, which
Okay.
is accurate.
does it say when that vote, when we codified that, when that was changed?
No,
Would that be?
I mean, that would be like years ago. So I can confirm that, not at this table. So if, like, I would not be able to confirm that right this second. No.
Okay.
But I have 1,000,000% confidence in our GIS technician, Rob Ely, with my life. So.
Well,
It was that way years ago. Why was it voted on in July?
Excuse me, sir.
May I answer his question? The original request was for high density, not medium density, because their base zoning originally was requested for RS15, which in our today's standards is high density. When they changed the base zoning to RS20, there is no need for them to change the land use plan. That was changed between planning commission and first reading, the base zoning.
It,
They were asking for high density. Y'all wanted to say medium density. and Y'all voted no.
I'll let you answer the rest.
well, when it failed in July, it did not come to the Board of Commissioners until it was reconsidered as the way it is now. And which wouldn't needed to have been happened anyway if it was already medium density. The RS15, which the current phases are, would require a high density land use plan. And this new phase is RS20, which is a less dense zoning than the RS15 that's currently there. So that is in compliance according to our Director of Planning.
December 9th.
All right. Any other questions or comments? We ready to vote? All right. All in favor of 10A, B, C, D, and E as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? With that, the 5 items passed by a vote of 4-1. The next item on the agenda is 11A, which is an ordinance to amend ordinance 2024-31 that extends the sunset date until December 31st, There is no 34th. 2024 to amend the ordinance 2024-5, Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, known as the zoning regulations, by amending Article 3, use regulations, adding Section 3-108, temporary events, uses, and portable buildings to include mobile food vendors, food trucks, regulations for residential and industrial districts to extend the sunset date from December 31st, 2024 until December 31st, 2025.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions or comments? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? 11A carries. Move to new business, first reading. Any objection to hearing A, B, C, D, E, and F under 12? Hearing no objections, I will read the 6 items. 12A, which is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 1.32 acres, property located at 2460 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, map 73, parcel 71, and located within the city's urban growth boundary. 12B, which is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet, approximately 1.02 acres, property located at 1191 Nunneville Road, map 50, parcel 98, and located within the city's urban growth boundary. 12C, which is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet, approximately 1 acre of property located at 8790 Saundersville Road, map 32H, Group A, parcel 9, and located within the city's urban growth boundary. 12D is an ordinance to amend the land use plan for the property known as the Chrisman property located at 0 Karen Drive, map 54, parcel 63, from low density residential to neighborhood commercial. And 12E, an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet, approximately 3.53 acres, property known as the Chrisman property located at 9127 Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 63, 64, 65, and located within the city's urban growth boundary. And 12F is an ordinance to rezone the property known as the Chrisman property located at 9127 Lebanon Road, approximately 3.53 acres, map 54, parcel 63, 64, 65, from RS40 to CNS. Have a motion? Is there a second? I have a second. The items are on the table. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Mullally.
12A, the annexation of 2460 Old Lebanon Dirt Road. This doesn't state a reason. It states on page 112 that the city initiated the annex. So who owns the property?
Okay. You want to take that one, Matt?
Matthew White, Public Works Director. Yes, we bought right away as part of the Old Lebanon Dirt Road widening project, and this is
Has to do with
we
that.
bought this property for the road widening.
Okay.
And later realized that it's not in the city limits, so that's the reason for the.
Okay. And 12H, the fiscal year budget ordinance.
Excuse me, Commissioner, we're not on H yet.
Oh, you didn't read H in there with it?
I could have, but
You
no.
could have.
We
So-
got A, B, C, D, E, and F.
Yeah, okay. All right, withdraw.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any, are those opposed? Any abstentions? That carries. 12G is an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2024-2025 for a budget ordinance 2024-25 to appropriate funds for the Central Pike Interchange Project.
No.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Hefner, you have the floor.
Do we have a contract from TDOT?
13B, I believe. Yes.
Okay.
This is just an amendment.
This is a budget amendment?
Budget amendment to support the contract.
Okay. Any reason why we can't vote on the contract first before the budget amendment? I mean, I've got some questions.
It just appeared on the agenda first.
I just have some questions that are specific to
If you want a motion to table into after 13B,
Yeah, a motion to table. So
I'll
just-
second. Any objections to tabling this? Hearing none, we'll just table 13G to be considered after 13B. Doing that so our city recorder can love me when we make changes like this on the fly. 12H, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget ordinance 2024-2025 to appropriate funds for obtaining ownership of the West Elementary School's sewer infrastructure.
Motion.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Questions or comments on 12H? Commissioner Mullally. Let me get your mic. Sorry. It's not
Is
an
this-
annex.
Oh, okay. So my question had to do with annex because supposedly you can't get sewer unless you're in the city limits. So how is this different?
Shane Chemner, Director of Engineering. The city of Mount Juliet already serves West Elementary School. Thanks to help with the city attorney, we unearthed an ordinance that there was right-of-way exchange for sewer service back in 2006. So they're already being served by the city of Mount Juliet.
Okay, all right.
All in favor of 12H, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 12H carries. The next item is 13A, a resolution approving the award of the construction contract for the ITS and Signal Improvements Phase 2 project and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement. Motion. A motion? Second. Any questions or comments on 13A? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 13A carries. Now we're on 13B, which is a resolution approving the agreement between the city of Mount Juliet, Tennessee and the Tennessee Department of Transportation for the Central Pike Interchange Project and to revise the stipulations for the city's monetary contribution towards the Central Pike project. Motion?
Second.
Second. Questions or comments? Commissioner Giles?
Okay, I will bring or let Matt White speak on this, dealing with putting something in the contract.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Commissioner Giles and I met with top TDOT staff a few weeks ago about this. They're ready to get started back on the project. It's been delayed since the 10-year plan came out. The project's been sitting for a little bit. They're ready to get back going, and so they're asking for us to put up the $5 million so they can get started back on a little bit of design and then get started into right-of-way acquisition.
Not the 25 million?
Not 25 million yet,
Okay.
just 5 million right now. So I did talk to TDOT and they have agreed to insert the stipulations that are in the resolution into the TDOT contract. That I talked to them about a week or two ago, so they haven't had time to update the contract yet. So I just recommend that you guys make an amendment that the mayor doesn't sign the contract until TDOT inserts the stipulations as outlined in the resolution into the contract language. So
I'll make that recommendation. I'll make that amendment.
I'll second. Help me remember not to sign it. Sam, you're the second catch.
And another thing I'll point out is
just
What's the amendment?
do what?
The amendment? Or can you send it to me?
Yeah, I texted to you earlier.
He's got
Oh.
yeah.
Okay, it's what you sent earlier.
in a nutshell, there's restrictions that are outlined in the resolution. We just want to codify those in the contract
Okay.
before it's signed by TDOT.
Yeah. And so I think 2 budget work sessions ago, the BOC directed staff to come up with a way to make sure we don't give TDOT any money until we can ensure that the project will be expedited. Commissioner Giles and I met with TDOT and they were adamant that the project would not have made the 10-year list if it wasn't for your $25 million contribution to the project. So that in itself is justification that it truly did expedite the project, because there could have been, who knows how long it would take for TDOT to fund the project if it weren't for y'all's contribution.
Would this, by taking these actions tonight, would this put us in a good place in consideration of what the state is having to spend out in East Tennessee? Or will we still be in a situation where we could be pushed down the list if they don't get the funding refunded?
I mean, there's still a chance of that, yes, because TDOT has funded all the hurricane relief efforts, and they're asking for reimbursement back from the federal government. If they are not able to get that funding reimbursed, then some of the projects in the 10-year list are going to have to be pushed back. So that is the reason why we're putting in these stipulations to protect us, basically.
Gotcha.
If they delay the project, then we give less money or zero money.
Okay. So there's a motion that was made and seconded that you've got the actual language. Would you mind reading that again? I can summarize, but.
Prior to the mayor signing the contract, TDOT shall insert the stipulations as outlined in the resolution into the contract language.
Is there any additional questions or comments on that amendment? Are all in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The amendment carries. We're on 13B as once amended. Did you have anything else, Commissioner Giles? All right, Commissioner Hefner, you have the floor.
I don't see the contract. I'm seeing an amendment in reference to a contract that we already have, when as legal. TDOT, I've seen TDOT contracts, and we've heard from prior city attorney, they don't make changes or amend their TDOT contracts. They put, yeah, there's a stipulation, there is a term for convenience, and it's one-sided. I believe it's one-sided. I don't know if they've gone to a mutual term for convenience. Do you know if that is in the current agreement?
I thought I saw a contract. That's why I brought this up. I thought that it was in there.
Yeah, it's an amendment to the original there was an original contract. I don't know when that was done, but this is an amendment to that original contract.
Yeah, I'm just specifically about the language in a contract, wherever it is, that I don't want to pay them $5 million and then they terminate the contract at their convenience, and we don't have to pay. We don't get the money back.
Are we depositing the money directly with TDOT, or is this going into the local fund as well?
Dang, it's here.
Yeah,
it's going into a LGIP account.
That's
I think
it.
what
Those.
Yeah, and it accrues interest.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. You want to speak to that? Or
Yes, just to clarify, the money we're depositing into an LGIP account, a local government investment pool account. It is our account, it is our money. They draw off of that as they spend those funds, but it is our money, so we earn the interest on it. We get that. So it's not, we're not handing them a check for $5 million that we won't get back.
Does that come through by way of draw requests?
Mhm.
And then we verify?
Well, yes,
or they just
will,
take it as
they'll take it and send us an invoice saying what they took.
Okay. So,
but
if
to your point, if the contract falls through, does that money lay in limbo, or is that our money?
It's our money.
Okay.
Okay.
It'll just sit in that account.
Because we've all
until-
seen nice shiny things that didn't materialize.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions or comments? All right. All in favor of 13B as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next item is, we'll back to 12G, which is an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget ordinance 2024-25 to appropriate the funds for the Central Pike Interchange Project. Motion and many seconds. So we have 12G on the floor. Any questions or comments on 12G? Commissioner Hefner?
When we passed the budget back in July, I requested that we do a 6-month
Yes,
review.
that's planned.
When is that going to be?
It's going to be at the end of this month. I haven't set the schedule yet because we're still trying to close the books. It takes us a little bit of time to close the books for December. I want to make sure that I have the most up-to-date, accurate numbers in order to plan that.
Can you tell me where we're at in terms of our numbers?
Not at the moment, but I can give you
Specifically, our sales, our revenue numbers?
Our revenue,
Sales-
our
Our
sales
recurring
tax,
revenue.
Our sales tax numbers are good. We're up about, I think, 13% in sales tax. We're on track.
Is that 13% of budget
That's
or
the-
13 budgeted or
That's
13%
actual of last year, but we are on track to meet budget, meet or exceed budget. So I've got budgeted 23 million, and we are on track to meet or exceed that.
that was if I recall, that was based on $1 million in sales tax revenue from our friends down the street.
Mhm.
So are we saying that we're trending $1 million
Mhm.
for the year?
Yes, and plus some because we have other friends too. So that have
Okay, so
come
the
on
net,
board.
so what we're saying is the net. So what we're saying is the net effect, the net C effect is $1 million in additional revenue for the year.
We went from actual of almost 21 to 23, and we're on track to meet or exceed that number.
Okay. I mean, all of that sounds great. I think we were anticipating $2.5 million net effect, if I remember those conversations, but
yeah.
So they're coming in much less than what we were anticipating.
If you look at it from a city standpoint, if you
Yeah,
look
you
at-
have to. You can't
Yes,
just
you're
look
right.
at what they're generating because you're moving money from one
I'm talking
pocket to
about
the
like
other.
total for sales
Yeah.
tax, which we split with the county school system. So
Okay.
yes, but if you're just looking at city, they're coming in very well. I'm excited to see the Christmas sales.
Okay, we haven't got, okay.
We'll have them Friday.
Okay, but we are going to have that meeting. Sorry, and I'm not trying to get
Yes.
off track here, but it is somewhat relative to me anyways. But okay, yeah, I'm very curious for that meeting.
Did you say we have the December sales tax numbers Friday?
We will have November's.
Okay,
sales tax
that's right.
Fridays.
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
that'd be
unfortunately,
very quick.
December won't come until February.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, yeah, got me excited to see those numbers, and what memory served is would be very quick. Any other questions or comments on 12G? All right, all in favor of 12G, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 12G carries. Any objections to considering 13C and D at the same time? All right, hearing none. 13C was a resolution declaring the city of Mount Juliet's fire department vehicle that was used by the City Beautiful Department as surplus to be donated to the Mount Juliet Help Center. And 13D, a resolution declaring the city of Mount Juliet's property in various departments as surplus to be disposed of at GovDeal auctions.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions or comments on the two items? All in favor of 13C and 13D, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Those two carry. The next item is 14A, which is an appointment of the Board of Commissioners representative to the Initial Research and Development Committee for the Recreational Aquatic Complex. So I'll open the floor to nominations. Commissioner Giles, I'll recognize you.
I'd like to make a motion for Commissioner Mullally to serve
Okay.
in this.
Commissioner Mullally has been submitted by Commissioner Giles. Are there any other nominations? I'll make a motion to cease nominations. Is there a second? Any objections on ceasing? All right. The name put forward was Commissioner Mullally. All in favor of naming Commissioner Mullally, assuming she is willing to serve on the Initial Research and Development Committee, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? You are the representative. The next appointment is 14B, which is appointment, it says a BOC representative to the Joint Economic Community Development Board. I believe that should read as an appointment to the Joint Economic Community Development Board. Yeah, position 18, which is currently held by one Mr. Luke Winchester, and I would submit his name to the board for consideration. Any questions or comments? He has agreed to do so.
Thank you.
All right. All in favor of Mr. Luke Winchester continuing to serve in the position number 18, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And he has been reappointed for his term. Our final item on the agenda is adjournment. And with that objection and hearing none, we are adjourned.